please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Slapped out and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so we are a couple days into NHL free agency now. There are still a lot of big name players who have not signed contracts yet, including Alex Pietrangelo, Taylor Hall, and Tyler Toffoli. But there have been a lot of contracts signed over the first couple days, and I figured now would be a good time to just sit back and do kind of a quick recap of the first couple days of free agency and just go through where everyone has signed. So for the sake of time, in this video not being half an hour long, I'm going to focus more on some of the bigger names and the more important contracts. But we're going to go over to TSN and take just a look at all the contracts that have been signed to this point in free agency and talk a little bit about those. But before we begin, I just ask that you please hit that thumbs up button if you haven't and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Both of those things help out a lot and are very much appreciated. Let's switch over to TSN here and look at contracts that have been signed so far. So Jimmy Schultz and Reed Duke, league minimum deals re-signed with Vegas. Victor Mete re-signed with Montreal on a cheap deal 1 year. But the first big signing came from the Chicago Blackhawks here. Dominik Kubalik, 2-year deal with a $3.7 million per season cap hit. He was a 30-goal scorer last year. Really, really good contract there for the Chicago Blackhawks. Malcolm Subban also signs with Chicago a 2-year deal worth $850K per season. He's looking like he's probably going to be their starting goaltender at this point. So they obviously wanted to get him signed. First major player changing teams to sign was Wayne Simmons, who signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs at $1.5 million on a 1-year deal. Bobby Ryan goes to Detroit, also on a 1-year deal worth $1 million. Obviously, Ryan is looking for a fresh start in his career. The Tampa Bay Lightning re-signed both Patrick Maroon and Luke Schenn. Depth players in under $1 million for each of them. Tyler Mott goes back with Vancouver. 2-year deal. I don't know why TSN doesn't have the money on that, but it's $1.225 million per season. Radko Gudas gets a surprisingly big deal from the Florida Panthers. We knew Florida was going to be looking for defense. They signed Gudas to a 3-year, $2.5 million per season deal. John Merrill goes to Detroit on a cheap deal, depth D-man. Carter Verhaeghe goes to Florida, 2 years, $1 million per season. He'll probably play on their fourth line. And then the goaltending started, and really day one of free agency was dominated by the goalies, and those were the big deals that were signed mostly. Henrik Lundqvist goes on a 1-year deal, $1.5 million to the Washington Capitals. That is going to be really weird to see Henrik Lundqvist in a Capitals uniform. Cam Talbot gets a huge deal from the Minnesota Wild. This, I think, is one of the more head-scratching moves, in my opinion. Minnesota needed goaltending, but they give Cam Talbot 3 years at $3.67 million. That's a big contract for Cam Talbot. Next up, we have Kyle Turris with Edmonton. That could be one of the most underrated contracts and sleeper contracts of this free agency if Turris can get his game back on track. 2-year deal worth $1.65 million per year. Turris is a guy who was awful in Nashville, but if he goes back to being the Ottawa Senators' Kyle Turris, he could be an absolute steal of this free agency. Alan Quine, 1 year with Edmonton. Nathan Beaulieu goes back to the Winnipeg Jets defense at $1.25 million per year. Good bottom pair defenseman. Kevin Rooney goes to the Rangers. Big contract here. Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby was the biggest name goaltender on the market this year. He signs a 2-year deal at $4.3 million per year with the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think many people had him going to Vancouver, but he is now with the Vancouver Canucks. Depth signings here from the Oilers. Colin Blackwell goes to the Rangers. Depth signing there. But Anton Khudobin, another big-time goaltender on the market, re-signs with the Dallas Stars. 3-year deal at $3.33 million per year. Another another deal that makes the Talbot contract look pretty bad in Minnesota, because you could have had Anton Hudobin for $3.33 million per year, but you get Cam Talbot at more than that. Hudobin's a far superior goaltender, but he stays with Dallas. Matt Murray, who was traded to the Ottawa Senators, signs a long-term deal with the Ottawa Senators. He was an RFA. He signs a 4-year deal at $6.25 million per year. Unbelievably big contract for Matt Murray. The Senators are going all in on him being their starting goaltender. That's a massive contract, and the Sens better hope that that works out. Alexander Wenberg, who was bought out by Columbus, gets a 1-year deal from Florida at $2.25 million. That could be a sneaky good deal, much like the Kyle Turris deal for the Florida Panthers. Tyler Pitlick goes to Arizona. He had a very good year this past year with Philadelphia. He signs a 2-year deal with Arizona at $1.75 million per season. A couple of depth moves for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mark Jankowski and Evan Rodriguez, 1-year league minimum contracts. Tyler Ennis goes back to the Edmonton Oilers, 1 year, $1 million. Mark Borowiecki, rounding out the defense for the Nashville Predators. 2 years, $2 million per season to go play on the third pair in Nashville. I like that signing for the Preds a lot. Jack Johnson somehow gets a job. 1 year, $1 million. I think it was $1.15 million per year, actually, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But Jack Johnson goes to the New York Rangers, kind of a head-scratching move there. Rangers fans were not happy. Kevin Shattenkirk goes to the Anaheim Ducks. He gets a 3-year deal at $3.9 million per season. So Ducks bolstering their defense. John Hayden goes to the Arizona Coyotes, another depth forward move, 1 year, $750K. Matt Benning goes to Nashville as well, another depth defense move for Benning, 2 years, $1 million per season. Alex Petrovic, who spent last year in the AHL, signs with the Calgary Flames for 1 year league minimum. He'll probably end up in the AHL again, but could potentially be a bottom pair or a 7th defenseman. Justin Schultz gets big money from the Washington Capitals. 2 years, $4 million per year for Schultz with Washington. That's a big contract for Schultz. I'm a little wary of that one. Jacob Markstrom goes to the Calgary Flames. A lot of people were waiting on that one. That deal was announced way earlier in the day before it actually became official, but they do get him locked up on a 6-year deal worth $6 million per year. Calgary is going all in on Jacob Markstrom being their starting goaltender for the foreseeable future. Kevin Miller returns to the Boston Bruins for a year. Anthony Bitetto goes to the New York Rangers. A couple of depth moves there defensively. We have some 2-way contracts signed. I'm not going to worry about those too much. Those are mostly AHL deals. Lucas Spiza returns to the Winnipeg Jets. Stefan Nason signs a 1-year deal with the San Jose Sharks. We have some more 2-way contracts and depth moves by the Calgary Flames. Xavier Ouellet, another depth move there by Montreal. TJ Brody, big contract here, goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think there were a lot of teams in on TJ Brody. Good top 4 D-man. 4 years, $5 million per season for Brody to go to Toronto. Nick Cousins signs a 2-year deal with Nashville, $1.5 million per season. Depth moves here by the Buffalo Sabres. Brandon Davidson, Tobias Reeder, and Matt Irwin. All cheap deals. Thomas Nosek returns to Vegas on a 1-year deal. Torrey Krug. This was a big one. Torrey Krug, one of the biggest moves of the first day of free agency, signs a 7-year deal with the St. Louis Blues at $6.5 million per season. Massive move there by St. Louis, which now means that Alex Pietrangelo is pretty much guaranteed not to be returning to the Blues. Chris Tanev signs with the Calgary Flames. Calgary made some big moves in free agency. He signs a 4-year deal at $4.5 million per season. So big top 4 move there for Calgary. And Corey Crawford signs with the New Jersey Devils at $3.9 million per year. So it looks like the Devils are going to go with a 1A, 1B type situation with Crawford and Mackenzie Blackwood. Then that's it for day 1. That's what we've got for October 9th. Then day 2, October 10th of free agency, we have Andrei Burakovsky re-signing with the Colorado Avalanche at $4.9 million per season for 2 years. A couple of more depth moves by Pittsburgh. Thomas Greiss goes to the Detroit Red Wings, $3.6 million per year. on a 2-year deal. So Greiss and Bernier will be the goaltending duo in Detroit. Craig Smith goes to the Boston Bruins. We figured Boston would be looking for some offense, and they get a middle-of-the-lineup winger in Craig Smith, a 3-year deal at $3.1 million. I think that's a very good deal for Boston. Jordan Greenway, he re-signs with Minnesota, 2 years, $2.1 million per year. Troy Stetcher goes to Detroit. Detroit had a sneaky good free agency here. No massive moves, but they're starting to make strides to get better, and Troy Stetcher helps add to that defense. Tyson Barrie, one of the bigger defensemen on the market, he signs a 1-year deal with the Edmonton Oilers at $3.75 million. That, I think, could be a very good move for Edmonton, especially getting Barrie, moving the puck up and playing on the power play with guys like McDavid and Draisaitl. Nate Thompson, depth move for the Winnipeg Jets, a veteran fourth liner, adds to their forward depth. Mike Smith goes back to the Edmonton Oilers. This was a little bit of a head-scratching move. I thought the Oilers would make a bigger goaltending move than this, but they missed out on pretty much all of the big names, and that forced them to just go back and re-sign Mike Smith for another year. Mark Pysyk goes to Dallas. Kevin Labanc signs a long-term deal with the San Jose Sharks. 4 years at $4.725 million. So he bet on himself last year, taking a very short-term 1-year deal at low money, and now he gets rewarded with a 4-year deal. Jesper Fast goes to the Carolina Hurricanes. He spent his entire career up to that point with the Rangers. He's now a Kane at 3 years at $2 million per season. Cody Eakin goes to the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo didn't do a whole lot in free agency, but they do get Cody Eakin. $2.25 million per season for 2 years. Travis Boyd, a depth move for Toronto. Val Nichushkin returns to Colorado. Brandon Montour returns to the Buffalo Sabres on a 1-year deal, just under $4 million. Trevor Van Riemsdyk goes to the Washington Capitals, another depth defense move there. Zach Bogosian goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs on a 1-year, $1 million deal. I think that could be a sneaky good move for the Maple Leafs. He can play on their bottom pair, bring some toughness to that lineup. And he was good for Tampa Bay. He was good for Tampa Bay this past year after he was bought out by Buffalo. Depth moves here for Winnipeg, but then Johan Larsson goes to the Arizona Coyotes on a 2-year deal, and Paul LeDoux, another depth defense move for the Washington Capitals. He'll probably end up in the minors, but 1 year, $700K league minimum. So that is where we are at so far through the first 2 days of free agency, and those are all the contracts that have been signed so far. So still some really big names out there. Dadonov is not signed. Hoffman is not signed. Toffoli is not signed. Hall is not signed. Pietrangelo is not signed. There's still some big names out there on the free agent market, but I figured now was a good time to kind of do a recap of where we were at. And after the first 2 days, October 9th and October 10th, that is what we have for signing. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon, merchandise store, and donation link are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.